A square knot is a very simple knot that's often used to tie two ropes together. Now, when you're making a square knot, you start by taking one of the ropes and making it into a loop, and then take the other one and bring it up through this loop, bring it around the back, and then finally you put it back in the way you got it, and then you pull. You can tell if it's a square knot if it's symmetrical. Now, with the sheet bend, it's another knot used for tying together two ropes, but this one's a little bit different. You see, you're going to start off the same way that you start the square knot, by making a bite, and then you bring your other rope up through the loop again, only this time you're going to go in from the side and weave your rope through the two lines it has to pass through, and it should end up with a sheet bend. The bow line is a very important knot for when you're trying to make a loop in your rope. Well, when you're making a bow line, you start by making a loop in the shape of a number 6, and then you pinch to make sure that that loop stays. Then you bring your rope up through the loop, then around the long part of the rope, and then back into the loop right next to where you brought it in, and then you pull every part except for the parts directly part of the loop, and then it'll be done. And now we have two half hitches. Two half hitches is a great knot for fastening around objects, especially when you're building stuff like tents. You start it off by bringing it around a pole of some sorts, crossing it, and then making a loop above this crossing, and then bring it down and making a loop below the crossing, and then all you have to do is to bring it around and up through that circle that you made and pull, and you'll have a good two half hitches. It's a very useful knot, but there's also another knot that goes with it that's very useful. That knot is called the taut line hitch, and the taut line hitch is a very similar knot to the two half hitches. Its design is almost the same as the first one, except that there's a second loop made before going under the crossing. The big difference between the two is that with the taut line hitch, you can actually move the position of the knot and change the length of the rope. The figure eight knot, while simple, is a very good knot for keeping rope from sliding through a hole. All you have to do to make it is just to make the rope turn back around, and then it goes behind itself and turns back around again, going through the first loop that you made. It should look, well, like a number 8. Now, when you want to work with wood and lashings, the clove hitch is going to be a great help for anyone involved. A clove hitch is made by simply going around a pole, then going around again to make an X shape, then finally going around a third time and pulling the rope underneath this X shape, and then pulling it tight, and you'll have a good clove hitch. And lashings really need that sort of thing. But not all lashings use the clove hitch, and the timber hitch is just as useful. Even though it's really, really simple, all you have to do is make a loop and then go back and just twirl that rest of the rope back the way you came. Now, these knots may seem simple, but they really are some of the most important parts of pioneering. You really need these knots in order to even start any of those projects. You need them to make any lashings, and they're really important overall. Now, thank you for listening to this video. I hope that it taught you something about tying knots and whatnot.